Okay, what I thought I'd do is just run another topic through, a little bit more focused in on this ECUMATE, and we'll talk a little bit about what information it shows you here in terms of your idle, position of your stepper motor, your air conditioning, AC, your gearbox, and this particular value here, your road speed or your stop value. Now when you sort of Google faults with this, a lot of people talk about the throttle pot, a lot of people talk about the stepper motor, and a few of the matters. But the point being is, with your idling with these machines, it can be many things. It can be a sort of that's causing the unit to run a little bit rough, and it can be a combination of little things that can add to it. One of the things that's not often talked about is some of the sensor switches, or the speed sensor as they call it, that is actually linked onto your gearbox. You actually find it actually on your transfer box just behind the back of your handbrake drum. And it's actually quite an important piece of equipment, that switch, because what it does is it actually tells the ECU whether the vehicle's stopped, whether it's in gear, or whether it's moving, and it uses that information here to actually trigger your idle mode. And as you can see here at the moment, I've got idle on. The other little unit that I'll talk about in detail is your throttle pot potentiometer, which also affects the idle mode, and I'll just do a quick example of that now. You can quite clearly see it says idle on. I'll blip the throttle, idle off, and that's purely because it's taken a voltage reading from the throttle pot, instantly realised that the revs are increasing, and it's turned it off. The other switch that feeds into that, like I've just said, is your road speed switch that's fed from your gearbox. So how that works is, I'll just put my brake on. It's registering that I'm stopped, it's registering that I'm in neutral. I'll put it into reverse, it's saying that I'm in drive. The engine's hunting a little bit there. It's locked up on it, steadied the idle out, but it's still saying I'm stopped. What I'll do is I'll take the car for a bit of a drive on one of the clips, and you can see that this will go from stop into road speed, give you the kilometers per hour here, that's that figure there, and also as well as it will say whether you're going fast. But the key thing is that the idle should turn off once I start moving over 3 kilometers or 3 miles per hour. And what generally can happen is, if you've got a faulty switch, I'll just put that back into park, it can affect the idle here, and it can either result in the idle being permanently on, or it can result in the idle not coming on at all. And what generally happens when that happens is, when you go if you have problems with your car stalling when you're putting it in and out of gear, that it may be an indication that your sensor, your speed sensor is faulty. Again, the ECUMATE will tell you whether it's faulty or not simply by flicking through your gears and seeing whether this value changes. If not, it's generally an indication that the signal is not getting to the ECU. So it's a handy little tip, and again, you wouldn't know that unless you've got this little box of trigs plugged into your ECU. So you can see how that works. Just flicking through it again from it to run through it. You can see my water temperature starting to heat up now, 84. Fuel temperature, throttle pot, and as I said earlier, just to cover this, my revs are now settling down a lot better now as it comes up to temperature. Throttle pot value, I made a mention there, that I'll do another piece on it, but 0.23 of a volt. Again, all the values are listed in here, and it's a really useful manual list for understanding what's doing. Fuel pump on, you can see, giving it a squirt there. Lambers, I've completely disconnected them, and I'm going to do a short video clip on that as well, explain how I've done that, and then how I put in what they call a red tune resistor, which isn't a big job. I actually make them myself, and it's really cheap and easy to do. It's something not to be fearful of. So okay, that's just a little bit about the stepper motor, and just a little bit about the gearbox and the speed sensor switch.